I first met Diamond at a tech industry conference in Seattle. Her sharp wit and ambitious spirit captivated me immediately. We connected over shared passions for hiking, cutting-edge technology, and travel dreams. Our romance moved quickly, moving in together after 6 months engaged at 1 year married shortly after. Everything seemed perfect, like we were building our dream life together. But within weeks after our wedding, something shifted. Diamond started wanting all the benefits of being my wife, without any of the responsibilities that came with partnership. Where are you watching from? Hit like and subscribe to see how I finally decided to give Diamond exactly what she was giving me, and why she now desperately wants things back the way they were. The moment I saw Diamond across the crowded exhibition hall of the Northwest Tech Summit, I knew there was something special about her. She stood confidently by her company booth, articulating complex software solutions with an ease that made even the most technical concepts sound accessible. Her dark hair was pulled back in a professional style, but a few strands had escaped, framing her face in a way that softened her corporate appearance. I found myself lingering near her booth, pretending to be interested in her company offerings while actually captivated by the way her eyes lit up when discussing innovations she was passionate about. When the crowd thinned, I finally approached with a genuine question about their platform. Our conversation quickly shifted from professional to personal, as we discovered shared interests that went beyond our tech careers. "You hike too?" Diamond had asked with genuine surprise when I mentioned my weekend plans for the Cascade Trails. I thought I was the only tech nerd who traded screen time for trail time. We exchanged numbers, and our first date happened the very next evening. Dinner at a small seafood restaurant overlooking Elliott Bay. The conversation flowed effortlessly as we discussed everything from our career aspirations to family backgrounds. Diamond was from Northern California, had attended Stanford, and moved to Seattle for the tech opportunities. I was born and raised in Washington, making my way through the industry, with a combination of self-taught skills and formal education. Within 3 months, we were spending nearly every evening together. By 6 months, it made financial and emotional sense to move in together. My apartment had the better view of the sound, but her furniture was nicer, so we created a space that felt like the perfect blend of both our lives. Living together revealed how compatible we truly seemed. Diamond was organized and detail-oriented, complementing my more creative but sometimes scattered approach to life. We established routines that worked for both of us. I cooked during the week since I enjoyed it, while she handled weekend meals. Household responsibilities were shared, without much discussion, each of us naturally picking up what needed to be done. We fit together like we were designed this way. I told her one evening as we sat on our balcony watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. Like the perfect algorithm, she had responded with a smile, intertwining her fingers with mine. The proposal came during a weekend hiking trip to Mount Rainier. The weather forecast had predicted clear skies, but Pacific Northwest weather had its own plans. A light mist had settled over the mountain, creating an ethereal atmosphere as we reached a viewpoint overlooking the valley. Despite the dampness seeping through our lightweight jackets, the moment felt perfect. I pulled the small box from my backpack while Diamond was photographing a unique formation of wildflowers growing among the rocks. "Diamond," I called softly. When she turned, I was on one knee, the ring box open in my palm. "You make every trail more beautiful every day, more meaningful. Will you marry me?" Her camera dropped to hang from its strap as her hands flew to her mouth. For a moment she stood frozen, and I felt a flicker of uncertainty. Then she launched herself toward me with such enthusiasm that we both nearly tumbled down the trail. "Yes, 1,000 times yes," she exclaimed between kisses. The planning began almost immediately. Diamond approached wedding arrangements with the same efficiency and attention to detail that made her excellent at her job. We agreed on a relatively small ceremony with 70 guests, at a rustic, elegant venue overlooking Lake Washington. Every decision felt collaborative, from the menu that accommodated various dietary restrictions to the music playlist that blended both our tastes. When disagreements arose, we found compromises that satisfied us both. It reinforced my belief that we were perfect partners. The wedding day itself was everything we had hoped for. Diamond looked breathtaking in her gown, which she had described as modern with vintage touches. My voice cracked slightly as I recited my vows, promising to be her partner, supporter, and best friend through all of life adventures. "I never believed in perfect matches until you," Diamond had said during her vows, bringing tears to my eyes and sighs from our gathered loved ones. As we danced under twinkling lights at our reception, I felt complete happiness and excitement for our future together. The world seemed full of unlimited possibilities, all of which we would explore hand in hand. The first subtle shift came approximately 3 weeks after returning from our honeymoon in Costa Rica. I noticed one evening that the dishwasher had remained full of clean dishes for the third day in a row, despite Diamond walking past it multiple times. Before our marriage, she would have emptied it without comment, part of our unspoken division of household tasks. "Is everything okay?" I asked casually while finally unloading the dishes myself. "Just swamped with the new project," she replied without looking up from her laptop. "Thanks for handling that, babe." I thought nothing of it at the time. We all have busy periods at work. But similar patterns began emerging with increasing frequency. Laundry remained in the dryer until I folded it. Grocery shopping, which we used to do together on Sunday mornings, became entirely my responsibility. Cooking, once shared, now fell solely to me regardless of our work schedules. Meanwhile, Diamond began spending increasing amounts of time on what she called my time. Evenings with her friends, weekend yoga retreats, extended shopping trips. When she was home, she was often absorbed in her phone or laptop, minimally engaged with our shared life. 4 months into our marriage, I found myself vacuuming on a Saturday afternoon while Diamond relaxed on the couch scrolling through social media. A small but sharp feeling of irritation prompted me to speak up. "I feel like I have been handling most of the household stuff lately," I ventured carefully. "Could we revisit how we are splitting responsibilities?" Diamond looked up with a slight frown. "Are you keeping score?" "That seems petty." "Not keeping score," I clarified. "Just noticing a change from how things used to be." She sighed dramatically before setting down her phone. "Fine. What do you want me to do?" The conversation that followed seemed productive. Diamond acknowledged that she had been less involved in household matters and promised to be more conscious about sharing responsibilities. For approximately 2 weeks, things improved. She prepared dinner twice, handled a load of laundry, and even cleaned the bathroom without prompting. Then gradually we slipped back into the same unbalanced pattern. Each time I brought it up, the cycle repeated. Initial defensiveness, reluctant acknowledgement, temporary improvement, then regression. I began to wonder if this was simply an adjustment period all newlyweds experienced, or if something more concerning was occurring in our relationship. By our 1-year anniversary, the imbalance in our partnership had become impossible to ignore. My role as a senior software developer at a growing startup meant 60-hour work weeks were common, especially during product launch phases. Despite my heavy workload, I was still handling approximately 90% of our household responsibilities. Meanwhile, Diamond had negotiated reduced hours at her company ostensibly to create better work-life balance. However, this additional free time rarely translated to more contribution to our shared household. Instead, it became time for her personal pursuits: shopping, socializing, and self-care. One particularly exhausting Thursday, I arrived home after 14 hours at the office to find no dinner, a sink full of Diamond breakfast dishes, and a note explaining she had gone for drinks with colleagues. I ordered takeout, cleaned the kitchen, and was folding laundry when she returned home around 11 p.m. "You would not believe the day I had," she announced as she dropped her designer bag on the counter. "The project manager completely misunderstood the requirements, and now we have to redo everything." "That sounds frustrating." I responded mechanically while continuing to fold her clothes. "There is leftover Thai food in the fridge if you are hungry." "You are the best," she said, kissing my cheek before disappearing into the bathroom for her elaborate nighttime skincare routine. I wanted to point out the disparity in our situations, how I had worked longer hours yet still handled the household responsibilities she ignored. But exhaustion and a desire to avoid conflict kept me silent. This pattern extended beyond household chores to financial matters as well. Despite my significantly longer work hours, Diamond expected equal, if not greater, input into how our money was spent. Her personal shopping increased dramatically after our wedding, with frequent purchases of designer clothes, expensive skincare products, and high-end electronics. "We are a dual-income household," she would remind me whenever I expressed concern about a particularly expensive purchase. "We should enjoy the benefits of our success." What she failed to acknowledge was the increasingly uneven contribution to that dual income. As her work hours decreased, so did her financial contribution. Yet her spending continued to rise, creating tension in our budget that fell to me to resolve. The social aspects of our marriage developed a similar imbalance. Diamond was highly selective about which social engagements deserved our participation as a couple. Events with her college friends, industry networking functions, where she could showcase us as a power couple, and gatherings that benefited her social standing received priority. Conversely, family dinners with my parents, casual get-togethers with my longtime friends, or community events I valued, were frequently deemed not worth the time investment. Diamond became expert at finding last-minute reasons why we could not attend functions important to me. Migraines that appeared and disappeared with suspicious timing, sudden work emergencies, or simply declaring she was too exhausted to socialize. "Your cousin Joe is sweet, but do we really need to attend his barbecue?" she asked dismissively when I mentioned an upcoming family gathering. "That is 4 hours we could use more productively." Gradually, I found myself attending family functions alone, making excuses for Diamond absence that even I did not fully believe. My relatives stopped asking if she would attend, and my friends made fewer attempts to include us in their plans. The social isolation grew, incrementally separating me from support systems I had valued throughout my life. Diamond, meanwhile, leveraged our marriage strategically in professional settings. She frequently requested my presence at her company events, where she would introduce me as my husband, the software architect with pride, using our relationship to enhance her professional image. At these functions, she expected me to be charming, engaged, and supportive, regardless of how exhausted I might be from my own work week. "These connections are valuable for both our careers," she would insist when I expressed reluctance to attend yet another corporate cocktail hour. "We need to present ourselves as successful partners." The painful irony was that while Diamond enthusiastically embraced the social benefits of being married, she simultaneously shirked the responsibilities that came with genuine partnership. Our financial situation deteriorated in direct proportion to Diamond, increasing personal expenditures. Despite our agreement to consult each other about purchases over $500, credit card statements revealed multiple violations of this boundary. Designer handbags, weekend spa retreats with friends, and impulsive technology upgrades appeared regularly on our joint accounts. "This handbag is an investment piece," she justified when I questioned a $2,300 charge. "Quality items hold their value. Besides, I need to present a certain image for client meetings." My attempts to establish a budget met with resistance, deflection, or outright dismissal. Diamond approached our finances with an attitude that suggested questioning her spending was equivalent to controlling her freedom. Meanwhile, the savings I had diligently built before our marriage gradually diminished as I covered our basic living expenses while she focused on lifestyle enhancements. The financial strain became evident when we needed to replace my aging car. The down payment I had planned to use had been depleted by covering household expenses. When I brought this up, Diamond suggested I simply finance the entire amount. "Why are you so worried about debt?" she asked, genuinely puzzled by my concern. "Everyone leverages credit. It is how modern finances work." Her casual attitude toward financial responsibility contrasted sharply with the careful planning that had characterized our pre-marriage discussions about building wealth together. Increasingly, it seemed Diamond viewed our marriage as access to additional resources rather than a partnership with shared goals and responsibilities. "We should look at investment opportunities," I suggested during one financial discussion, trying to redirect our focus to long-term planning. "Absolutely," Diamond agreed enthusiastically. But when I presented research on retirement accounts and property investments, her interest quickly waned. "Those are so far in the future. We should enjoy our money now, while we are young." Perhaps the most painful evolution in our marriage was the growing emotional distance between us. Physical intimacy, once spontaneous and mutually initiated, became increasingly rare and seemingly transactional, often coinciding with Diamond wanting something or seeking to smooth over a disagreement. More concerning was the one-sided nature of emotional support. Diamond expected comprehensive understanding of her work, challenges, friendship dramas, and personal anxieties. She would spend hours detailing her frustrations, seeking my advice and reassurance. However, when I attempted to share my own struggles or concerns, her attention span was noticeably limited. "Can we talk about this later?" became her standard response when I brought up my work pressures or family worries. "I have had such an exhausting day. I just need to decompress right now." Later rarely came. If I persisted in seeking emotional connection, Diamond would accuse me of being needy or not respecting her boundaries. The double standard was glaring, but somehow always framed as my failure to understand her unique emotional needs. The isolation of carrying my concerns alone, while serving as Diamond emotional support system, took a toll on my mental health. I found myself experiencing symptoms of depression, disrupted sleep, decreased interest in activities I once enjoyed, and a persistent sense of inadequacy. The vibrant, confident person I had been when we met was fading into someone I barely recognized. "You seem different lately," my college friend Marcus observed during a rare lunch meetup. "Everything okay with you and Diamond?" I deflected the question, unwilling to acknowledge, even to myself, how unbalanced our relationship had become. But in quiet moments alone, I could not escape the realization that I was pouring myself into a partnership that was not reciprocating my investment. The breaking point came unexpectedly, during what should have been a time of family support. My father, who had been experiencing concerning symptoms for weeks, was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer. The news devastated our family, particularly given my father's stoic nature and reluctance to seek medical help until the symptoms became impossible to ignore. "I need to be there for his first consultation with the oncologist," I told Diamond the evening we received the diagnosis. "Would you come with me?" "It is on Thursday, at 10 a.m. She frowned, tapping at her phone calendar. "I have a presentation that morning. Can they reschedule for the afternoon?" The casual nature of her response, as if my father's cancer appointment was a minor inconvenience to be worked around, left me momentarily speechless. "This is the specialist appointment we waited 3 weeks for," I finally explained. "Rescheduling would mean another long wait." "You understand how important this presentation is for my career trajectory," Diamond countered. "Your mom will be there, right? She can take notes, or record it if there is important information." I attended the appointment alone as my mother was too emotional to absorb the complex medical information being shared. Throughout the 2-hour consultation, I kept expecting Diamond to text asking how things were going. No message came. That pattern continued as my father began treatment. Diamond consistently found reasons why she could not accompany me to hospital visits or family support gatherings. 2 weeks into his treatment schedule, she announced she needed to attend a business conference in Chicago. "The timing is unfortunate," she said while packing her suitcase, "but this connection could lead to a significant promotion. You understand, right?" I nodded mechanically, too emotionally drained from balancing work-household responsibilities and my father care to argue. The weekend she was away, I spent 12 hours at the hospital when my father experienced severe side effects from his treatment protocol. Sunday evening, exhausted and worried, I was scrolling through my email when a social media notification appeared. One of Diamond's colleagues had tagged her in photos, not from a business conference in Chicago, but from a weekend spa retreat in Scottsdale. The images showed Diamond lounging by a pool, cocktail in hand, clearly enjoying herself, while I had been navigating one of the most difficult weekends of my life. The betrayal cut deep, not just the lie about her whereabouts, but the complete disregard for what I was going through. It was the clearest illustration yet of how one-sided our relationship had become. The next morning, I sat beside my father's hospital bed, while he dozed between treatments. His face, thinner now from the combination of illness and aggressive therapy, still held the strength and integrity that had guided me throughout my life. Watching him, I found myself reflecting on the values he had instilled in me: honesty, responsibility, and self-respect. "You awake, son?" he asked, his eyes opening slightly. "Yeah, Dad. Just thinking." He studied my face with the perceptiveness that illness had not diminished. "Not just about me, I think." "Marriage troubles." The direct question broke something open inside me. Before I could filter my response, words began pouring out. The imbalance in responsibilities, the one-sided emotional support, Diamond's absence during this family crisis, and the discovery of her deception about the weekend trip. My father listened without interruption. When I finally fell silent, he reached for my hand with his IV bruised one. "A partnership where only one person is doing the partnering is not a partnership at all," he said quietly. "Your mother and I have had our struggles, but we always face them as a team. What you are describing sounds more like you are Diamond employee than her husband." "I do not know what to do," I admitted, the words catching in my throat. "Yes, you do," my father replied, squeezing my hand weakly. "You just do not want to do it because it is hard." He was right. Deep down, I knew I had been enabling Diamond behavior by continually compensating for her lack of contribution to our marriage. By shouldering all responsibilities, managing her emotions while neglecting my own and making excuses for her absences. I had become complicit in the dysfunctional dynamic between us. Sitting in that sterile hospital room watching medication drip into my father's veins while he fought for his life, the contrast between his courage and my cowardice became unbearably clear. Something fundamental shifted inside me, a quiet but absolute decision that things could not continue as they were. In the hospital parking lot, I sat in my car and finally allowed myself to feel the full weight of everything that had been building for months. Tears came unexpectedly, releasing pent-up frustration, disappointment, and grief. When the emotional storm passed, a strange calm took its place, the clarity that comes with difficult but necessary decisions. The following week, I took systematic steps toward reclaiming balance in my life. My first appointment was with a financial advisor who helped me assess our current situation and develop a plan for protecting my assets going forward. Based on what you have shared, the advisor noted while reviewing our accounts, there seems to be a significant disparity between contributions and expenditures. Yes, I acknowledged. That has become increasingly clear to me. With his guidance, I opened individual accounts and began documenting the imbalanced financial patterns that had developed. I was not planning for divorce, at least not yet, but I needed to establish boundaries that had been absent for too long. Next, I consulted with a family law attorney not to initiate separation proceedings, but to understand my rights and responsibilities within the marriage. The information was empowering, providing a framework for the changes I needed to implement. Many clients come to me after enduring years of imbalanced relationships, the attorney explained. Addressing these issues earlier rather than later is always preferable regardless of the ultimate outcome. At home, I began documenting household tasks, time spent on shared responsibilities, and emotional labor. The resulting data confirmed what I had intuitively known. I was handling approximately 85% of our household management while working longer hours than Diamond and providing the majority of our income. The most challenging aspect of my planning was the mental and emotional preparation. Years of accommodating Diamond needs and prioritizing her feelings above my own had created deeply ingrained patterns. Breaking free of those patterns would require consistent boundary maintenance and a willingness to tolerate her potential negative reactions. The person who has been benefiting from an unbalanced dynamic rarely welcomes change, my newly engaged therapist warned during our first session. Prepare for resistance in various forms: anger, guilt-inducing behaviors, or even temporary improvements designed to maintain the status quo. Armed with awareness and resolve, I finalized what I came to think of as my mirror strategy. I would give Diamond exactly what she was giving me, no more and no less. If change was to come, it would emerge from the stark reality of experiencing what she had been offering. Implementation began with household responsibilities. One evening, Diamond returned home to find no dinner prepared, unusual since I had been handling all meal preparation for months. "Is dinner not ready?" she asked, clearly surprised. "I did not have time to cook tonight," I replied calmly, exactly as she had done countless times. "There are leftovers in the fridge, or you could order something." Her confused expression suggested this deviation from our established pattern was unexpected, but not yet concerning. That changed as days passed and similar scenes repeated. Laundry remained unwashed. Groceries were not restocked. Bills that I had traditionally managed appeared on the counter with sticky notes indicating, "Your turn." Each time Diamond questioned these changes, I responded with variations of the explanations she had given me over the past year. "I am swamped with work. I need some me time tonight," or simply, "I assumed you would handle it since I did it last time." The financial aspect of my mirror strategy involved creating a proportional system for expenses. Rather than continuing to cover 80% of our costs while Diamond spent freely, I established separate accounts and allocated shared expenses based on our respective incomes and work hours. "We need to discuss a new financial arrangement," I informed her, while presenting spreadsheets detailing our income, hours worked, and contribution to household tasks. "Why are you being so technical about our marriage?" she demanded, visibly unsettled by my business-like approach. "I am just ensuring equity in our partnership," I responded, echoing her past rhetoric about fairness and shared responsibility. Perhaps most importantly, I began mirroring Diamond emotional availability. When she launched into lengthy accounts of workplace drama, I listened for precisely the amount of time she typically gave to my concerns, before gently indicating I needed to attend to something else. If she sought comfort or reassurance, I provided it with the same level of engagement she offered when our roles were reversed. "Are you even listening to me?" she demanded one evening when I checked my phone while she was describing a conflict with a coworker. Of course, I replied, not looking up from my screen, exactly as she had done to me countless times. "You were saying something about Jennifer from marketing." The first week of my mirror strategy, Diamond's primary reaction was confusion. The second week, confusion gave way to irritation. By the third week, her frustration erupted into direct confrontation. "What is going on with you?" she demanded one evening, after coming home to yet another evening of self-service dinner arrangements. "You have been acting completely different lately." "Different how?" I asked calmly. You know how she snapped. Distant, uninvolved, like you do not care anymore. The irony of her accusation was so profound, I almost laughed. "I am just respecting your example of how partners should behave in a marriage," I replied evenly. Her expression shifted from anger to uncertainty. "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means I am giving you exactly what you have been giving me," I explained. No more, no less. That conversation was the first of many increasingly tense exchanges. Diamond attempted various strategies to re-establish the previous dynamic. Anger. "You are being childish," and petty guilt. "I cannot believe you would behave this way while your father is sick," and even temporary behavioral improvements, designed to placate without addressing the fundamental issues. When these approaches failed to restore her comfortable position of receiving without giving, Diamond began to display something I had not anticipated: genuine distress. "I feel like I am losing you," she admitted one night, tears streaming down her face. "Everything is falling apart, and I do not know how to fix it." For the first time since our wedding, Diamond seemed to be experiencing authentic emotional vulnerability, rather than strategic displays of feeling designed to manipulate outcomes. Though part of me wanted to immediately comfort her as I always had, I maintained the boundaries I had established. "I understand this is difficult," I acknowledged. "It has been difficult for me too, living in an unbalanced partnership where I give considerably more than I receive." Her tears continued, but something shifted in her expression. The dawning recognition that the dynamic she had created and benefited from was now being reflected back to her. "Is that really how you see our marriage?" she asked quietly. "It is not how I see it," I clarified. "It is the objective reality of how it has been functioning, as demonstrated by the documentation I have shown you." In that moment, Diamond appeared to truly see the disparity in our relationship for the first time. Not as a narrative I was creating to make her feel bad, but as a measurable reality that had been invisible to her while she benefited from it. The weeks that followed were characterized by Diamond increasingly desperate attempts to restore our previous dynamic. She tried preparing elaborate meals only to discover I had already eaten. She initiated physical intimacy, often encountering polite but firm boundaries. She suggested couple activities that had once been important to me, finding my availability limited by the same kinds of constraints she had previously imposed. "I made reservations at that Italian place you love," she announced one Friday afternoon. "For tonight, at 7. "I already made plans with Marcus," I replied. "But thanks for thinking of it." Her expression crumpled with disappointment. "You can see Marcus any time. I thought we could have a special evening together. Maybe next time," I suggested, using the exact phrasing she had employed when declining my invitations for months. As her traditional methods of re-establishing control failed, Diamond's panic became increasingly evident. Late one night, I found her sitting alone in our darkened living room, staring out at the city lights. "I do not recognize us anymore," she said without turning. "We used to be so happy." I was happy at the beginning, I acknowledged, sitting across from her rather than beside her. "Before our relationship became so unbalanced. I want things to go back to how they were," before she said, finally looking at me with pleading eyes. "That is the problem," I replied gently, but firmly. "What you are asking for is a return to a dynamic that worked for you but not for me. That is not a partnership." Her shoulders slumped in defeat. "What do you want from me?" It was the question I had been waiting for, the first indication that she was ready to consider genuine change rather than surface modifications designed to restore her comfort. "I want a true partnership," I answered honestly. "Equal investment, equal effort, equal care. Not measured in identical tasks, but incomparable commitment to our shared life. How do we get back to that, she asked, genuine uncertainty in her voice. We do not get back to anything, I clarified. We move forward into something new, something balanced and mutually supportive. And it starts with you recognizing that marriage includes both perks and duties, not just the benefits you want without the responsibilities. Diamond's initial response was to suggest couples counseling, the first constructive solution she had offered since our issues began. I agreed with specific conditions we would both fully commit to the process, come prepared to each session, and implement agreed-upon changes between appointments. Our first session revealed how differently we had experienced our marriage. Diamond genuinely believed she had been a supportive partner, citing emotional validation and social networking as her primary contributions. The counselor gently challenged her to consider whether those contributions balanced against the practical, financial, and emotional support I had provided. Relationships are not just about dividing tasks equally, the counselor explained. They are about each person feeling that their contribution is matched by their partner effort, that there is fundamental fairness in how you function as a team. Over subsequent weeks, Diamond began the difficult work of examining her entitlement and the underlying beliefs that had shaped her approach to our marriage. She revealed that her parents' relationship had modeled similar imbalances, with her mother receiving benefits while contributing minimally to the partnership. I just thought that was how marriages worked, she admitted during one session. My father handled everything practical, and my mother focused on her own interests. And how did that work out for them? The counselor asked. They divorced when I was 15, Diamond acknowledged quietly. My father eventually said he felt more like an employee than a husband. That revelation marked a turning point in Diamond's understanding of our situation. The parallels between her parents' failed marriage and the path we had been traveling became impossible for her to ignore. For perhaps the first time, she recognized that her behavior threatened not just my happiness, but the survival of our relationship. The following months brought gradual but meaningful changes. Diamond began taking initiative with household responsibilities without prompting or recognition. She adjusted her work schedule to accompany me to my father treatments. Most significantly, she began showing interest in my experiences and emotions, without immediately redirecting conversations to herself. Progress was neither linear nor perfect. Old patterns occasionally resurfaced, particularly during times of stress. But unlike before, Diamond now recognized these regressions and took responsibility for correcting them rather than waiting for me to accommodate her lapses. My own journey during this period involved rebuilding my sense of self-worth and establishing healthier boundaries. Years of prioritizing Diamond needs above my own had eroded my confidence and clarity about what I deserved in a relationship. Therapy helped me recognize how my desire to be the perfect partner had enabled dysfunction rather than supporting genuine connection. People teach others how to treat them, my therapist observed. By continuously accommodating imbalance, you inadvertently communicated that the arrangement was acceptable. Learning to value my own needs proved surprisingly challenging after so long neglecting them. Simple acts like declining a request that conflicted with my own well-being or expressing disappointment when expectations were not met required conscious effort and practice. The goal is not to become self-centered, my therapist emphasized. It is to give your own needs equal weight in the relationship equation. As I developed stronger boundaries, I discovered a renewed sense of energy and engagement with life. Interests I had abandoned while managing our household flourished again. Friendships I had neglected were cautiously rekindled. The depression symptoms that had become my constant companions gradually subsided. Diamond witnessed this transformation with a mixture of admiration and regret. I see who you were when we first met, she said one evening as we prepared dinner together, a once common activity we were gradually re-establishing. I almost lost that person. We both almost lost me, I acknowledged, but I am finding my way back. The true test of our progress came 6 months into our rebuilding efforts, when my father's health took a promising turn. His cancer responded well to treatment, moving from stage 3 to remission. During a celebration dinner with my family, Diamond was fully present, not just physically attending but emotionally engaged with my relatives in a way she had never been before. Your wife has been a rock throughout all this, my mother commented, when Diamond stepped away from the table. We have seen how she has supported you. That my mother, who had witnessed Diamond's previous absence, now saw her as a supportive presence, spoke volumes about the genuine nature of the changes taking place. Life has a way of testing the authenticity of transformation, and our test came in the form of a job offer for Diamond, a significant promotion that would require longer hours and increased responsibilities. In our previous dynamic, this change would have further imbalanced our relationship, with me absorbing any additional household duties while receiving even less of Diamond time and attention. "I want to discuss this opportunity before I make a decision," she said, surprising me with her thoughtfulness. "It would mean changes for both of us, and I want to make sure we approach it as partners." Together, we developed a plan for managing the potential shift in her work demands. We identified household responsibilities that could be outsourced if necessary, discussed financial implications, and established regular check-ins to ensure neither of us felt overwhelmed by the arrangement. Most importantly, Diamond acknowledged that the decision would affect us both and should therefore be made collaboratively. Whether she accepts the position remains to be seen, but the process of considering it together demonstrated how far we have come from the one-sided decision-making that once characterized our relationship. The woman who once expected marriage perks without wife duties now understands that partnership requires mutual investment and consideration. I do not know if our marriage will ultimately succeed in the long term. Rebuilding trust and establishing new patterns requires consistent effort from both partners, and we are still early in that journey. What I do know is that I will never again accept a relationship where giving and receiving are fundamentally imbalanced. The most profound lesson I have learned through this experience is that true partnership requires both self-respect and mutual respect. By reclaiming my sense of worth and establishing clear boundaries, I created the possibility for authentic connection rather than one-sided accommodation. And by experiencing exactly what she had been giving, Diamond gained perspective that words alone could never have provided. If you have ever found yourself in a relationship where you give far more than you receive, remember that mirroring can be more powerful than arguing. Sometimes the most effective way to illustrate imbalance is simply to reflect it back. What has been your experience with unbalanced relationships? Leave a comment below sharing how you handled similar situations. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need this perspective. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I hope it helps you navigate your own path to healthier, more balanced relationships.